Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Stationeers. Let's get going. So, let's see. Last I left off, I basically ran myself out of resources setting up a pseudo basement. Pseudo basement because it surely is not finished, or whatever. It doesn't even have lights. So first things first, I wanted to give everyone healthy warning. They've recently changed the way that the mini tanks here, these portable tanks, work, and well, they super explode. I mean, their pressure limits are now the same as canisters. If you're curious what a canister is, I'd have to take off my... Oh, that's my uniform. I'd have to take off my mining belt and switcheroo with my tool belt, because I do happen to have a canister on me, which is in my welder. It's far bigger than the welder, but yeah, whatever. Alright, so these canisters here... Come on. Okay, there we go. These canisters here, as you can see, it's kind of silly that somehow that fits in there, have a maximum pressure of about 10 MPa, and any higher and they go kablamo. And yeah, the portable tanks used to have basically no limit. Portable tanks are these ones. They used to have essentially no limit because the pipes would burst before they did, but now they've been set up to the same 10.3 MPa. And a lot of people online are finding that it makes for grand explosions. So this one, of course, is 5 MPa, and I've been using it. So I don't know, actually, off the top of my head, what it starts at the beginning of the game when you have a full tank. But, yeah, I just wanted to give everyone a nice, healthy warning about that because I don't want you all to explode. That's my PSA for the day. Alright, so... the idea I have here is this workshop is going to be Martian atmosphere, as I said, and probably a lot of exposed wires. I'm probably not going to clean it up very much for a long time. Oh, I'm out of sheets, aren't I? Yes, so one thing I'm definitely going to need to do is print up a silly amount of sheets, because I have need for it. So we have enough steel to make 308 sheets or something like that. I'm not going to make 308. I mean, that's kind of an absurd amount. It would start flying everywhere. But as you can see, I have a nice stockpile of iron ore here. This is coal, right? Yeah. So I'm going to make some more steel, and before I even do that, what I wanted to do was to analyze my farming situation again, because I obviously ran out of CO2, and that became a problem. So, as you can see here, this portable tank is actually relatively close to its burst mark. As you can see, it's actually past redlining. So definitely going to want to keep that vent off. In fact, I nearly hit the kablamo explodey limit. So yeah, it's pretty easy to hit with these portable tanks. And they make quite a large crater. So while these sheets are printing up, I'm going to take a look at my farm and see if it's healthy enough to plant in. Okay, it's 10 Celsius. It's a little cool, but oh. Okay, it's not 10 Celsius. Boo. Because it was super unpressurized. Yeah, everything that was in this canister tank was decent. Everything else was not. Come on, heater. What have you been doing? What have you been doing for real? Alright, so what I'm going to do is turn off the back pressure regulator. Just turn it off altogether. And turn on the pressure regulator and let this heater heat up this space. I'm a little tempted to see about how much power I'm drawing, because I could always throw down another heater. Very disappointed that it's not warm enough yet. Alright. Well, we'll have to come back. Bummer. I thought I was hopeful seeing that it was 10 Celsius, and then I walk in and it's not even pressurized, and it's like, dude, why not? Alright, so first things first, I want to do some welding. Come on, open the door. Thank you. Do some welding in the new basement, so at least I can walk around it, and on the patio as well. Alright, 41. That will do. Alright, so let's get the patio right now. And this doesn't need to be vacuum sealed or anything, so I can just weld one sheet to it, and we can walk on it. And downstairs doesn't really need to be vacuum sealed either. I just think that aesthetically, it's better if it's solid. Some things just look better that way. This needs a frame there. And if you think aesthetically, all the outside will look better solid as well, I could do that. It's not that much more resources. And then what I'll do is, once these are mined out, once these are welded up, rather, I can mine out the edges so that you don't see Martian soil sort of like floating through the frames. And do that with a mining pick for more sensitive mining. So essentially what I'm saying is, down here, we're just not going to have anything under the floorboards, right? Everything's going to be exposed. We can always throw down floorboards and things like that after the fact and clean it up, but yeah, it depends on how dedicated we are to that. Now, I think the outside would look better with the fully welded. I will pay for that. I have enough coal. I almost have enough coal to make 400 more steel. I don't know if I have enough iron. I'd have to check. But, yeah, I'm not that really worried about resource usage. Got to make it look right, you know? Alright, obviously I have to mine out some of the dirt so it's not poking through, as I mentioned. But I'm excited about a basement workshop, even though it's probably a long way off. I just want to set it up so that it has an airlock, so it has, you know, some basic functionality. Now, the airlock we're going to set it up with is going to be identical to the one upstairs, which means, of course, it's complicated. It will need multiple consoles, slave consoles, a lot of setup, blast doors, which requires the fabricator. So it's not a simple airlock by any means, but I don't know. I think it's worth doing, you know, those cool airlocks. Big blast door airlocks. And the advantage of the big blast doors, of course, as I mentioned, they have a wider door, which allows you to... oh, I must have accidentally hit the button. Which allows you to fit larger objects through them. Like the portable ACs and stuff like that. So we almost have enough steel to weld up the bottom here. Part of me is tempted just to, like, needlessly weld stuff in my farm to heat it up. Because it does produce a little bit of heat. If you're looking at the temperature in the top right, up here, as you can see, when I weld, sometimes there's little spikes of temperature. Because the welding, you know, does produce a little bit of heat. There's a lot of things in this game that produce heat that you wouldn't, you know, normally think about. Like, for instance, your farms produce heat, players produce heat, you know, pretty much every fabrication bench produces heat, which is a really interesting sort of thermal mechanic that the game has. I find it really cool, right? I mean, it makes your base feel a lot more alive when the devices like your plants or your benches or whatnot do things besides just sit there and manufacture for you. You know, they produce sound, they produce heat, they produce waste gas sometimes. And all those things added up makes it feel like you're actually managing a machine shop or whatever, and not just, you know, a magical bench that does exactly what you need it to do and never produces any sort of byproduct, which is exactly how most games treat all this stuff. Now, I'm not saying it's realistic. You know, the amount of heat or whatever that a fabricator produces is probably pretty negligible, and it's probably cranked up to 11 in this game, but, yeah, I think it's fair to say that for game mechanic effect, if it had an accurately minuscule amount of, you know, heat production, you'd never really need to account for it. So instead, they make plants produce like a ridiculous amount of heat, which obviously in real life they don't. You know, you don't walk into a room with some houseplants and go, "Whoa, who turned up the thermostat?" But in this game, that's exactly how it feels and works. Why, I couldn't really tell you, but it just does. Okay, so we are done with the basement welding, I believe. Now I just need to chip away at it with the pickaxe so I don't make any giant mistakes. And I'm going to cancel, or at least, yeah, I'm going to stop the production of these steel sheets, so we don't need any more at the moment. Alright, it's pickaxe time. Now, if you're wondering what the purpose of the pickaxe is, it's to make small, well, so it's twofold, right? If you ever run out of power, and let's say you have you're at nighttime, but you do have an emergency coal power generator, you could run around, find some coal, and throw it into the generator and charge your stuff back up. I need a steel frame there, don't I? And I suspect I don't have one. So let's go make one. I'm going to combine these sheets together. Because the traditional mining drill does take, it does take battery power. And it's pretty generous about how much you can mine with the battery power. But, you know, I've definitely been in situations where I've been down to a pick and I'm like, uh-oh, it's coal time. So, just to keep that in mind. Alright, I'm not going to sit here and make too many of these frames. I'll have them crank a few more out. Couldn't hurt. Whoa, didn't mean to drop that. Alright, let's go back to picking. It's easier to pick. So sometimes it's hard to find the, like, collision interaction spot for these dirt mounds. As you can see, I'm sort of struggling finding it on this one. There it goes. Gotta say, using this pick definitely gives me Minecrafty vibes. Now all I need is a tree to punch, and we'll seal the deal. Come on. Come on, little pick. Let's go. There we go. Alright, well, the top deck is done. Now I just need to do, you know, walls and everything else. Now, under the stairs, that is another thing that I need to decide how I'm going to handle. Am I going to pick it out? Am I not? I'll probably end up picking it out and having it be clean and free of Martian soil. From what I read, actually, I mean, dealing with Martian soil is kind of a big consideration for long-term habitation on Mars, because it's very fine, and we're going to have to devise, meaning, you know, really like NASA and whoever else goes to Mars, going to have to devise ways of how to keep it out of habitations, because it's going to cause respiratory issues and stuff like that. And there's a few different ways to do this, like hooking your suit up to the side of your base. So the only time that you're in your base, you're in your normal clothes. You don't actually enter the base with the suit. You attach your suit to the side of the base and crawl out the back of the suit. That's been... And I've seen some games that have that sort of method, which is interesting. There's a bunch of other different ways to have sort of like a clean room entrance, but that is a real pain, especially if you have some sort of emergency where you're, you know, running low on oxygen or you're injured or something and you have to go through the whole, like, airlock process. I mean, that's... it would be hard to stick with that protocol all the time because... I don't know. So there's a lot of different methods tossed around. I'm really curious to see in the next... I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait to see it, but whenever we start doing extra Earth colonization, to see sort of what methods they all take to remove the sand. In fact, I got a comment saying maybe I too should have blast doors even for this open air entrance, just to roleplay keeping the dirt out. Not a terrible idea. Something that I could do, maybe not right now, but sometime in the future when I'm doing finishing touches. Especially given the workshop doesn't need to be airlocked or anything. That's something that can really wait. Alright, so I've removed 2 of these stairs. Let's go over and stop making steel frames. We probably have enough. Now, normally if I was playing and not recording, I might just make enough that I need. But given that standing at a tool bench and staring at me, you know, crafting them up is obnoxious at best and really boring at worst, I obviously am not taking that approach. Alright, so I've decided to pick this out, which means I will have to lay frames around it. And we might actually use the real drill this time. So my steel frames or sheets were over here. Let's weld these up. And a lot of people mentioned that it was sad that the base got suddenly uglier. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Once you start terraforming the surrounding area, you do sort of significantly change the way the base looks, and there is no easy undo button. There's some save game editing and stuff like that that you can do in extreme scenarios, like let's say you had a pressure tank explode and you terraformed a giant hole in the center of everything. Yeah, you might want to have to like fix that, but for the most part, putting dirt back is just not something you can do yet. I don't know if it's a technical problem that that the devs haven't figured out yet. I'm not sure why. Oh, you know what? This is on flatten. I don't need it on flatten. Now, as you can see, this is a lot less precise. I'm just digging giant holes, and I'm like barely clicking, and it's removing a huge amount of soil. And as you can see, I missed a frame in there, but that's alright. I can always put it back. Probably missed the frame here too. Well, it's not so much I missed it, it was just so submerged that I couldn't reach it. Come on. Alright, that looks good. Drills off. Drills away. Belts away. Switch the belts. And, oh, there's a few touch-up spots here I could see. And then I might want to dig that out a little bit as well. But let's weld these up. Alright, no touch-up spots here, that's good. Oh, there's a little touch-up spot underneath those stairs too. curious if I can actually hit these touch-up spots. The ones under the stairs with the pick, considering I don't... Oh, yeah, I can. It's kind of an awkward thing to mine. Maybe I can't get the other one. No, I should be able to. Come on. Come on. Where's your hitbox? Alright, I can't get that one. Did it have any over here? Nope. Alright, one more try. The problem is that... Oh. There we go. Wunderbar. So now we've got stairs up, stairs down. Everything's lovely. We could put these stairs back. They're gonna look like a very nice staircase. There's also different construction options. So there's rails, and no rails. So down here, you know, I actually put rails on everything. You know, OSHA approved rails, right? If you're not sure what OSHA is, because you're not American, it's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Basically, the people that make sure workplaces are safe. And then here, I'm going to do just the rail on the one side, so that I can shortcut a bit, you know. Alright, that looks good. And these definitely need dual rails. But before I do that, I might even want a wall here. I guess I don't really have a pattern to go with, so we'll slap it down. That was... If there was no pattern to go on, I definitely got that pattern wrong. Okay, there was a pattern here, and I just didn't see it. Let's try to fix that. So, going with high, like that. I hope. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Does that block my stairs? That's the other question. Where'd the stairs go? Here they are. No, they don't. Okay, good. Ta-da! Oh, but I wanted rails on that, didn't I? So not ta-da. There we go. Rails up. Now it kind of looks like, it kind of reminds me of... Okay, so two issues. Let's start with that. One issue, can I ever use this here? Maybe, when I'm standing up here. But it's definitely a little awkward. No, you know, it's fine. It's not that awkward. Because we sort of changed what ground floor was. Down here looks good, though. This is a nice open area. So, let's start laying down the groundwork for our elevator. So this is going to be elevator level. Hit the call button. Should be plugged in and all. Oh, you know what? It, because it's a floating shaft. Okay. I'm just thinking here. I'm gonna move all of my walls and whatnot over one big stack, so I don't start losing stuff. These arch walls, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm ever gonna use, but might as well keep it for now. Elevator. I believe that is a fabricator only, but let's just make sure, because if I can skip the fabricator, that would be awesome. Yes, I can. Alright, so the elevator, gold, copper, steel, solder. And I need 2 of them. Gold, copper, steel. I'll put the iron in there too. And solder. Hello, cheeky sheet. I see you. Alright, these print up pretty quick, so I'm not gonna leave too far. So I don't want too many elevator. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to have to unweld some stuff so that I can... oh, you know what? I need one more, obviously. So that I can access the back here and power it up. So that's shaft, and then level. So one more.
Jetpack on.
Shaft, level. Alright, good. Let's run the wires. Now this is a little bit trickier. So I'm going to have to fly in here and deconstruct this frame and deconstruct all of the future frames. And what I might end up doing is actually leaving this unconstructed so that this shaft goes all the way down. I just need to excavate it because, as you may have noticed, there's a little bit of soil in the way. But the backs of elevators, if I recall correctly, are actually vacuumed, or rather airproof or whatever. They won't leak, whereas the sides with the open cage design obviously will leak. I mean, that couldn't be any more obvious to me, at least. Alright, so big old drill time. Turn this baby on. Now, I don't want to disturb too much of the soil that is external to the base. You know, I just want a little tunnel that allows me to do my business in here. Alright, so this is the bottom, because that's the floor right there. And at some point, if I really cared to, I probably won't, to be honest. I could clean up all this stuff here. You know, make it look nice. But I don't think I care too much about how nice my crawl space looks, to be perfectly honest. Alright, so this green cable needs to continue down all the way to the bottom floor. So, let me switch belts. Now, if I recall correctly, I'm a little bit low on cables. Yeah, I am. And while I print up some cables, let's head into the farm and see if it's better than 83 kPa and, like, you know, whatever it was. I forget the temperature. Alright, it is not fully pressurized, but it's farmable now. Oh no, it's pressurized. And farmable. Alright, I'm not going to risk the soybeans, or maybe I'll risk one soybean. Why are you wilting? These potatoes should not be wilting because of no sunlight. Let's do a quick analysis of the atmosphere. It's definitely got CO2. Yeah, it's 99% CO2, 1% O2. Teeny little bit of X. Is that why it's wilting? Because there's a microscopic amount of X. Okay, that's exactly why I didn't put the soybeans down, because I don't have too many soybean seeds. Pods, whatever. Oh, nice. Got back just in time to see a giant tower of these cables topple over. So one way to deal with a unwanted gas in an area that isn't, you know, vacuuming out everything is using the portable air. I'm going to call it a purifier, even though that's not really what it is. Scrubber. That's what it is. Alright, so this portable air scrubber is battery powered, and you can throw a filter in it. And it will scrub out I believe the gas that you filter for. Oh boy. I guess this will be a bit of an experiment, because I don't usually use air scrubbers. But another problem I'm having currently is doorway issues. So this is exactly why I use the blast doors, because certain objects do not exactly fit inside of these doors here. I think they can. I just need to, like, Jenga it. Because I don't know if I can easily get that X out unless I fully vacuum out my entire farm. So given that I'm not about to replace these doors, I guess it is vacuuming out the entire farm time, which sucks. I don't know how that X got in there. But, yeah, the portable scrubber obviously would be the... let's cancel pressurization. I ain't got time for that. Where'd this X come from? Why is it killing my potatoes? Maybe having the back pressure regulator on would be good. So the X probably... I'm actually really not sure how it got in. It, like, somehow... air from Mars' atmosphere leaked in. So I'm going to wait until the sun before I do anything in here. I'll just be patient. And let's go back to my, hello, thank you, elevator project. Alright, looking for green paint. I feel like there's so many little microscopic fires to put out that I'm going to be in a constant state of doing that if I don't just focus on one project at a time, you know? Alright, let's go from the bottom up. I know I'm not plugging them in, but I will. It's just a little faster to do it this way. Alright, at this junction here, I'm going to need to, it'll be a little bit different because there's something in the way. So it's going to be a junction. Oh man, there's a pipe there too. Jeez Louise. Alright, corner down, avoid the pipe. So we need to jump over that heavy cable, and I don't really feel like moving a heavy cable because that heavy cable there is what plugs into our solar power panels. So it holds a whole lot of power. Alright, so there we go. And then we just put corners in here. And if I've done my due diligence, we are all set. I'm dyeing all my cables back to red. And then what I need to do is... Actually, I could use more green cables, to be honest. But what I was going to do is see if the elevator worked. The light's on. Sometimes the call buttons don't exactly work until when you add to elevators, I've noticed. And you sort of have to, like, disassemble, reassemble. So, as you can see here, the lift is sort of, like, in the middle of the elevator. And obviously that's incorrect. So there's my shaft. I can get rid of this frame. I can get rid of all these frames. Yeah, we're gonna have a pretty frameless interior. How it stands up under its own power, I don't know. But, you know, I'm not a structural engineer. I'm just a Stationeers player. Was that extra stairs? What is these stairs for? Guess I had extra stairs? I don't know. Alright, let's see. Elevator, are you willing to work now? Yes, it is being called. I don't know where from. But here we are. Floor 3. Let's go down. I do believe we call this functional. Alright, so another thing I'm going to need to do is to add airtight walls here and an airlock here to keep the air that's in the elevator from entering the air that's in the workshop, because the air that's in the workshop is, you know, obviously somewhat toxic due to the fact that it has some X in it. Alright, so now that it's sun time, sun time. Now that it's daytime, let's... You know, actually, my potatoes look okay. I'm curious if they're still wilting, even though there's a microscopic amount of X. Because if that teeny amount of X isn't bothering the plants, I can plant some more seeds. I'll probably only put down, like, half of my soybeans or so. No, it's still wilting. It's still complaining about that, that hidden X here. Alright. So there's two options that I can do. One is to vent everything out and filter it again. I hate that option, but it's probably the option I'm going to go with. So... Pressure regulator's off, back pressure regulator's off. Vent is on. It's absolutely going to kill... Oh, you know what? Wait. I'm a little worried about the amount of CO2 that I have in my portable tank, so I'm going to correct that as well. I don't want a giant explosion on my hands. Come on, let me up. Yeah, as you can see, we're getting pretty close to the explodey, very, very bad time of having everything blow up on us. And I wouldn't want to do that. I don't want to die. I haven't died yet. Alright, so let's go ahead and increase. Right now I'm just basically venting out CO2 from this tank into Martian atmo. Just to lower it. And another thing I'm sort of curious about is what is actually in this tank. So I'll check in a sec. Nah, it's pure CO2. Okay. So the X did not come from this tank. This tank is 100% CO2. I'm going to vent out even more. I don't really need a lot of CO2. And I really need to not blow up my base. Alright. The joy of these portable tanks, of course, you could just do that. You can just grab them and empty them, reinstall them, toss them around. Portable tanks are great. The disadvantage, of course, is that, yeah, they explode, and you gotta be careful about that. Alright, so the batteries here, very, very, very sad. But let's hope that we can fix that. Alright. Atmosphere analytics. It still has some X in it. Which is... Oh, you know what? For whatever reason, these... Oh, you know what? The plants were, they were too cold. It wasn't the X. They were just too cold. But I am going to get the X out. So I'm going to vacuum seal the whole base here. We have a little bit of atmosphere in the airlock still. This canister also has air left in it. And I'm going to basically vacuum out that air as well, because that's our airlock air. So there's a teeny little microscopic amount of pressure out here. And it is reading that there's a microscopic amount of X, which I don't like. Because if we're trying to get rid of all the X, we actually have to remove it. Alright, so how's this canister? This, alright, I'm throwing some sort of error here. The canister is actually empty. True empty. So I'm going to close it, shove it back into its tank holder. And we are reading nil atmo everywhere. So turn this vent off. And turn the volume pump on. I'm not going to overpressurize this yet, because the less air that is in here, the less dense the air, the easier it will be to heat. There's some crazy clicking noises. It must be, maybe it's my logic or something. I don't know what's clicking. So I'm going to have to figure that out. So these plants are wilting now just because it's too cold. But once it gets up to 20 Celsius, they'll be fine. So I'm going to leave this area. Well, actually, let's analyze. Did I do what I need to do? Yes, there's no more X anywhere. Let's cycle to exterior. And I kind of want to chase down that click-click noise because I'm a little concerned that it's not good. Come on, let me out. Let me out.
Jetpack on.
I'm really not sure what's clicking. It doesn't seem to be all that directional. Huh. Now here's a question. Oh, interesting. I turn all power off. I still hear it.
Jetpack on.
That is quite strange, actually. So that means it's not something that's powered on that's clicking. It is like one of these objects that's like bumping or something. I don't know. So yeah, the blast doors that I selected to use obviously would have been really nice for this mini farm because I ran into a scenario where I couldn't even get the air scrubber in to solve my pollutant problem. Oh man, that clicking's gonna drive me up the wall. That's okay. I'll just attempt the very best I can to ignore it. Alright, checking in on the plants once again. I just need to make sure that I'm not, you know, poised to starve. That's the big concern here. And, me ignoring the farm that was mostly functional, made me neglect it. Cancel pressurization. It's almost... Oh, yeah, it's getting... The plants have a little bit of a tolerance, so the plants are now fine. So I'm going to take a big risk here and plant my soybeans. The more plants that I put in here, the warmer it will get. Turn on the pressure regulator. Turn off the back pressure regulator. And get out of here before the click-clacking makes me go insane. I think what's happening is just some object is just perpetually bumping somewhere. But it doesn't really matter. It will almost certainly go away on a save and load. Alright, so the farm is back up to snuff. It's slowly going to pressurize. It's going to slowly heat up. And then we'll be feeding us yet again. Alright, let me out. I'm so impatient, aren't I? Alright, another thing I wanted to do is... I wasn't done with those green cables. Okay, now at this point I feel like the clicking noise is following me.
Jetpack on.
I don't know. If it continues, the next episode I can try to track it down. A lot of things seem to go away on save and load, and I did get a whole bunch of error codes just a moment ago. So my thinking is it was related to those error codes that I dismissed, because I don't really want to be reading and troubleshooting error codes on a video. That's just boring. Alright, so the service hatches, doors, whatever you want to call them, I'm setting up to be powered on the Vitals network. Because if something goes wrong in the base, it is pretty vitally important that I can get the doors open. They're kind of like fire doors, right? You can think of it that way. So we'll put them on Vitals. And that way we don't have to, like, crowbar wrench them open every time. a little bit better. We can open and close them as we please. Now, of course, the back of this base is hideous. Very hideous. Let's go ahead and check pressure tests. I'm just about done with this episode, but let's check the pressure of all my tanks, making sure that we don't have... Oh, no. We're good. Plenty of wiggle room here on our CO2 tank. Another thing I could do is to vent my furnace, because I'm about to do a little bit more smelting as I ran through a lot of my steel, iron, copper, gold, all that stuff. And if we're about to do some smelting, we might as well make sure that this temporary pressure hold tank is emptied out. So actually, I'm going to turn that furnace pump back on and actually turn it off the proper way, which is with this switch. And then we turned on the volume pump. That's pulling all the air out of the holding tank and filtering it into our filters. And the pipe analyzer says that we had mostly pollutant and some nitrogen and oxygen, teeny little bit of nitrous oxide and volatiles as well. I've been using the wrong gas ratios. Should be 2 volatiles to 1 oxide. I've been doing it in the inverse. You know, I forget these things. The click-clacking seems to have gone away. That's kind of nice. The excess seeds I have on me, let's put away so I don't accidentally eat. I can eat my fries, though. And, yeah, that's about the close of it. So, yeah, I got a whole lot more stuff done in the basement. Got the elevator set up. Haven't done the airlock. I guess that will be next episode. And troubleshot the farm a bit. If you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, you know what I usually say. Drop me a line. Chat. Hop on Discord. There's a really active discussion. If you ever have questions about this game, Discord, place to ask. Or even the Stationeers official Discord, which I'm sure you can find the link to. Alright guys, well that's enough out of me. Adios.